This video is sponsored by the awesome chaps at Squarespace.
Oh, stop it!
No, seriously. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a rather impressive online presence for running your business, blog, or perhaps your shop. But hey, that's enough for now. More on all of this a little bit later on in the video.
I wanna take you for a ride.
We all have the ability to start a crowdfunding campaign, the ability to make a video and share our brilliant idea to the world. And although sometimes that works out pretty great, other times not so much. And today I plan to revisit board games. Yet you may be surprised to hear, but the one thing I always keep an eye on with Kickstarter is board games. It's just something that I'm very much interested in, and it's something that I really enjoy backing, because for the most part the board game community is full of people wanting to help each other out on platforms like Indiegogo and Kickstarter. And sure, a good amount of stinkers make their way through, I've covered plenty of those in the past. But honestly, I'm pretty lucky that these campaigns tend to update backers fairly often, and they tend to know what they're doing a fair bit more when it comes to the rewards. However, you don't want to hear about the good stuff. Oh no. I know what you guys like. Okay, there's 5 links down in the description to awesome games that originated on Kickstarter if you're interested, which you're not. Because today we're going to be looking at the other 5 links that you can find down there. Hi everybody, I'm Daniel Edmondson, aka DJ Slope from Slope's Game Room, and this is another 5 terrible Kickstarter board games. $821 backers pledged towards Star Traders, the first entry in this video, and according to updates and comments, backers have got their board games. So come on, what's the problem? Well, it's down to the artwork. You see, David Ladyman was a quite well-established game designer, and the game was actually really well received by people that played it at conventions. But on top of that was the rather nice artwork done by Ryan Archer, an artist that likes to take a considerable amount of inspiration from other sources when creating his own artwork. This is the box for Star Traders, used to promote the campaign, and here is a website from Walgreens that was for an art competition. Okay. Here's a picture of one of the main characters, and here's a picture from the movie Stealth. And furthermore, here's a DeviantArt artist changing up her uniform. Yep. Here's another character with more artwork, and yet another character, and yet more borrowed artwork. I think it's safe to say this has most definitely moved into the realm of plagiarism. The comment section filled up with people defending David and others that went against him as he actually stood up for his artist, and the more evidence they gave, the more damning it became. Thankfully, the artwork was dropped from the final release when David came to his senses, and everyone that backed it got their copy. And it's actually, according to reviews, a really good game. The end result was good, but still there's no denying that this game was at least partially funded using artwork that sadly was stolen. From Disney and D&D nonetheless. Oh, David, you are lucky that they didn't see this. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a particular project that really will split my audience right down the middle. Finding projects with this much baggage very rarely comes along. Projects that actually get funded, and projects that actually, although, fairly delayed in this instance, actually get shipped out too. On the surface, everything seems relatively fine, but behind the scenes of Upstart, it's anything but. So yeah, this is the story of Upstart, the board game. Upstart was a board game all about the struggles of starting your own business. It needed $35,000 and it got $35,788 by 204 backers. In all honesty, the board game looked fairly cheap to make. $40 isn't exactly a hell of a lot to fork out for something like this, and the campaign owners, although they did suffer delays, like I said, which they were a little hazy about, did in fact reply to plenty of commenters and stayed active with a good amount of updates. So, again, what's the problem here? Surely it's not just a few delays, right? Well, kind of. You see, for the company's 19th update, during the send out of what I can only assume are the rest of the backers' rewards, they explained exactly why these delays occurred. You see, after you go live with a campaign during all your busy promotion that you've been planning for months, you'll get absolutely inundated with companies offering up their marketing services to help you along your journey in exchange for a small percentage of the final fee, of course. This may seem pretty shady, but for some it's actually an essential part of the crowdfunding process. Get the right company involved with your awesome idea and it could be a pretty rewarding collaboration. Richard and Ina, the creators of this project, knew they needed some help, and before they even started, they reached out to the Woodshed agency, formulated a marketing plan and got to work. Now, apparently this plan was actually quite in-depth for such a simple looking board game. There was tours being made across America, ideas of how to boost the couple's social media presence, you know, all that good stuff. However, in that final post it details all of the issues. Turns out, just before the campaign was going to go live, we're talking within only a couple of weeks, the Hong Kong bank account that the owners needed was actually going to take a good month or so to set up. So they made an arrangement with the marketing company to let them receive the final money instead and then transfer the money back to the owners once it's all done, removing the marketing company's agreed 10%, of course. Ugh. Yeah, you see where this one's going, right? Well, when the campaign finally did hit its goal, the marketing company with all of the funds just stopped replying to messages to the owners and obviously didn't transfer the money over. Obviously, those 204 backers were oblivious to all of this, and to the owners' credit, they still, like I said, managed to make the game, and from what I can tell, actually shipped it out to all of the backers, and they did it with their own money. However, when that was all done, enough was enough, and that's when this post was made. But surprisingly, that's not the end of the story. You see, after this post got made, angry backers that felt sorry for the creators went over to the marketing company's Facebook page and bombarded them with threats and angry messages, which forced the marketing company to give their side of the story. They did kind of admit to being a little bit crappy. They admitted that they shouldn't have let the creators call the shots, and they admitted that they shouldn't have accepted the funds in the first place. The money was still with them, and from what I can tell, it still hasn't been handed over. Why? Well, according to this company, the campaign actually wasn't a success. It was very apparent early on that the campaign was not going to be hitting its goal. They worked together to get what they could, but there was no saving this campaign. Well, that was until the owners got hold of all of their friends and family to fill in the deficit, which was $19,101. And when the campaign completed, all of those backers became dropped backers. In other words, they didn't have enough money in their bank accounts or the cards were stolen, meaning that out of the $35,788 that the campaign owners should have got, minus Kickstarter fees of course, they actually only ended up getting $16,687.01. Take the marketing company's 10%, which could be anything between 1.5 to 3.5, and the Facebook advertisement money, which resulted in $3,699, and on top of this, because the company took the money in, which they shouldn't have done, they would have also had to pay tax on it too, which basically leaves only $4,000 to $9,000, depending on if you take the fake pledges into account, for a project which actually looked to have taken over $35,000. But why didn't they just hand over the measly 4K that was left? Well, that's the next issue. Even though we know that the board game was shipped, at the time it was likely that it wouldn't. If the backers eventually demanded refunds, that money would be coming from the marketing department's account and not the creators' account. What a mess. The creators did reply to this blog and owned up to some of the stuff while arguing others. The creators have obviously not been 100% honest with the backers, but at the same time, if only that marketing company had stayed in touch from the get-go, then perhaps this whole thing wouldn't have gone public. Thankfully, the backers in this instance are not the ones that took the hit, but instead it was the people behind it. Who's to blame? Well, what do you think? Let me know down below. So, here's an odd one, not really a scam per se, but still rather funny. What you are seeing on the screen is a nice digital rendition of how Pegasus, the next generation in abstract strategy games, will play. As you may have guessed, and as the campaign suggests, the game was going to be a game for fans of more traditional classic games such as checkers, Othello and chess. That's fair enough. If you make a simple game like that work, you have something not only easy to produce, but cheap to buy and hopefully incredibly addictive. The sky really is the limit if you get this right. However, as I'm sure you'll all agree, this video doesn't actually tell us anything on how this game will be played. So looking down in the description, you get a brief rundown on the rule set. Choose a side, black or white game pawn. Each player takes turns placing their pegs on the board one at a time. Once a peg is placed, it cannot be moved unless under game rules. Player may not place pawn and make a diagonal move of another pawn. Player loses turn when choosing to jump before pawn placement. A player can only pass after his or her game pawns are out of home board. Game pawns can be used to build walls to gather and free captured pawns. Captured pawns have minor restrictions under game rules. All pawns must remain on board until the victory is declared unless under game rules. And capture as many of your opponent's pawns to claim control of the game board and colour of Pegasus. Avoid jumping and confront your opponent's board head on. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, but also not at all. So far it seems to play kind of like Othello, jumping over opponents and changing their colour. Perhaps a tutorial would help. I mean, it's pretty much a standard for these board game Kickstarters to teach you actually how to play it, am I right? Nope, there's nothing here. He hasn't even made a prototype of this one on the Kickstarter or any of the other free campaigns that he's made for this board game. And let's be honest, that can't exactly be hard. I mean, it's pretty much just a chessboard, right? Well, obviously, it failed. None of the campaigns did what they needed to do, probably because it was going to cost backers $100 each for a copy of the game, and the goals were stupidly high, asking for $300,000 for, yet again, a 10x10 grid and a handful of black and white pegs. However, the stupidity of these failed campaigns are not yet over. You see, the board game community are really a nice bunch of chaps, and when they see a project like this, obviously setting itself up for failure, they came in floods, dropping down $1 a piece so that they can get access to the comment section to be constructive criticizers and to offer their help. And this is where the idiocy of Pegasus Games really does shine through. Not to sound unappreciative, but damn. For a $1 pledge, you will really have a lot to say about my campaign. You acted like you just handed over thousands and risked the chance of an investment loss. I'll ask you all to read the comment guidelines because you're all jerks. Gallon, if you don't like a project, don't back it. Simply move along. Quote Kickstarter. Oh my god, why am I being singled out here? These comments go on and on. Almost everybody that backed to try and help ended up getting in an argument with the campaign owner before removing their pledge. Oh no, please don't take back your dollar, lol. I'll leave one final comment right here. Are you a child? Then why are you throwing a tantrum? Violent temper is going to get you nowhere with me. If you were to act appropriately, then maybe I'll take you seriously. Words to live by, Pegasus. Words to live by. Okay, so going from one angry campaign owner to a bit of a clueless one. This guy, according to his own website, actually offers you a service to help you promote a Kickstarter. So, you know, perhaps this guy knows what he's talking about? With that in mind, let's take a look at his board game, Backfire. An elegant colour 3D dice stacking game, family fun, game nights return, multiple variations, every game different, ages 5 to 105 plus. Wow, you got some pretty bold claims there. The campaign also states that this bad boy has taken 21 years to complete. You got some stock images of people playing games. Okay. Oh, what's this? Introduce your project, tell people why they should be excited about your project, be clear and be brief. Oh dear. Then you got a whole lot of history about the guy himself. His original concept drawing of the game, which he said may be worth millions one day. I doubt that, mate. And wait, is that it? How'd you actually play the game? Well, in the comment section it becomes clear that Steve, our campaign owner, doesn't want to tell you how to play his game. You just got to believe in this guy and give him $50 and hope that it's actually good. Turns out Steve was seriously scared of people stealing his secret sauce and claims that Klonslike actually stole their logo from him, and furthermore a short story of his was stolen and turned into the movie The Purge. Really? The idea of the Purge was stolen from a guy that makes children books that look like this? By the way, you can grab a copy of one of these books yourself as a reward. This campaign is just so confusing. Oh, and by the way, you can't see it now, but shipping for this thing was reportedly $5,000, as he put the total needed rather than the individual amount for each board game shipped. So yeah, the guy had absolutely no idea what he was doing. He wasn't malicious like the guy previously mentioned, but considering the game had promised, he never attempted Kickstarter again, and nobody ever found out how to play it. Don't forget guys, you can hire him to help you launch your Kickstarter. So, to end this video, let's talk about copyright infringement. You can see why people do it. Having a nice big name like Naruto or the Monopoly guy would really help, right? But obviously you need permission, which these guys didn't get. And if that is all you're after, well, I can tell you right now that the Game of Thrones card game Kickstarters also didn't get the correct permission and also got taken down. This was the first campaign, it obviously got suspended, all the usual stuff here. The creator claimed he had copyright, but he didn't, and although we can't see it now, commenters on Reddit posts show that the comment section on this campaign was full of people essentially ripping into him, which obviously wound him up, and he got very, very aggressive. After this, a second campaign was made over on Indiegogo for what looks to be the exact same thing. This too got suspended. Here we have campaign 3. This time he went back to Kickstarter and claimed he didn't need to get licensing rights as this only had a likeness to Game of Thrones. Obviously, it too got suspended. Campaign number 4 got suspended the same day it was launched, and campaign number 5, which was actually going to be a board game based on Pac-Man this time, unsurprisingly also got suspended, even though he personally names people at Namco, Atari, Ubisoft, That Game Company and PUBG who are all helping him work on this project. Seriously, I don't know if this guy believes what he's typing or he's just trying to get away with scam after scam. Regardless, he did it, and for the 5th and final time, like I said, he got suspended. Now, guys, I've actually gone back and rewritten this script from here on out, as honestly, this is the Kickstarter segment that made me feel the most uneasy compared to anything I've ever covered in the past. Yep. You know, when you see a link for something that's a bit grotesque, you know it's going to make you feel uneasy and you really shouldn't click it, but you do. Well, that happened to me with this video. Now, in all honesty, when I pressed play, I actually thought it was a video update on this guy, but nope. Sadly, what it was a video of a live stream that Daniel Perez had left on whilst he dealt with his children. Now, it's my understanding that what you see here was streamed somewhere between campaigns 1 to 3. Earlier on in the stream, you hear him getting his 2 young kids of the age of 2 and 3 years old some food, donuts, and at this point something had happened that resulted in one or both of the children spilling their food. And although I refuse to play this video as the audio is absolutely horrific, one of the worst things I've ever had the displeasure of listening to, I will explain it as best I can. Basically, you hear Daniel Perez screaming full pelt at the children, forcing them to eat what they had spilt, swearing over and over and over again, the children screaming in terror and I assume pain, as you start to hear a couple of minutes of banging and slapping, which is, although not confirmed, very likely Daniel hitting those children. The screams from everyone involved get louder and louder until he shouts that he will actually throw them out of the window if they don't shut the f*** up, which finally does mute both of the kids. As stated, the video is nothing but this scream, but the audio is absolutely horrendous. And out of everything I've ever covered in the Kickscammer series, nothing has stopped me in my tracks and made me feel more sick than listening to this. Following on from this, several hours later, another video was uploaded by the same account that yet again was audio of Daniel Perez yelling, but this time at his wife during a live stream of Apex Legends. This time about not putting up the correct items to the correct eBay accounts, exposing them both as shady characters doing something, I don't know, possibly illegal, although nobody's exactly sure what they were doing. Regardless, the audio in this video was yet another screaming match between the two individuals.
What do? You sit there and bullshit. You sit there and bullshit all fucking day. That's all you fucking do is bullshit all fucking day.
For you, you can't even be kind. You're not even a kind human being. I'm done.
Even be kind. Even be kind. How can I be kind when you're texting me that shit?
News spread about the actions found in these videos like wildfire, and an article on Medium by Sid Porter, where a lot of this information actually comes from, goes into detail explaining in real time how many concerned individuals were spreading the videos as much as possible to get the attention of the authorities, which led to a news article popping up the very next day saying that the two children had gone missing. The parents had seen the backlash and were expecting a visit from the Department of Children and Families, so they grabbed what they could and made a run for it. A statewide search almost instantly was underway. Thankfully, it only took a few hours for the family to be discovered, as their mobile phones were traced by the local police department. And in the news article from the hour that broke the news, one officer explains that he actually visited them at their house and reported poor living conditions. Shortly after, another video was discovered on a separate channel, again of Daniel Perez, supposedly beating his screaming children again. And yet another video is discovered, but this time Daniel Perez is actually buying drugs on the phone, and yes, as you would expect from this role model, he's doing it whilst his kids are supposedly in the same room. Thanks to the spread of these videos and the people creating the articles detailing what he'd actually done, only a few days later the couple were arrested and their children had been taken away from them. Further articles go into more detail regarding this whole fiasco, explaining how the house where the family lived in had no running water for the previous 6 months, and in a last-ditched effort by Daniel and his wife Alessandra, they claimed that all of this was done by trolls and hackers to make them look bad, as they was jealous due to the $3,217 that they'd earned from the crowdfunding efforts, which I assume were the now suspended Indiegogo campaign via flexible funding. He does eventually admit that the video is real and was indeed him, but also stated that he would never hit a child and the slapping noises were done by him hitting the wall or the bed. Later reports explain that the house had been marked as condemned and unfit for living in, and the children were still being looked after away from the abusive parents. Over the coming months, court dates got moved around, some jail time was served, and in an interview from Daniel that shows he has absolutely no remorse for what he has done, still claiming that the video was actually now partially doctored by the sit-at-home nerds that were jealous of his success. A LinkedIn profile was discovered that, although differently named, was discovered to be an alias of Daniel Perez. Not much to say here except that a new board game was being developed using the Grand Theft Auto IP. I don't think it will come to the shock of anybody when I tell you this never got made. Still waiting for that court date, the couple got into trouble with the law once again. This time by robbing 5 houses and being caught red-handed with the goods at their new home. And that's where we are. Here are the charges against them, and the court date, as from what I can tell, been pushed back yet again. The duo sit in jail with a collective $155,000 bond due to all of the charges against them. It's a story with many twists and turns, starting its life off with a set of clueless Kickstarters and ending the worst way possible. Thankfully, according to the reports, the children are finally away from the abuse they supposedly endured, and with the ever-growing list of felonies and thankfully pretty damning evidence against them, I expect some pretty significant prison time for the couple. That got a little bit messy, didn't it? Yes. Hey guys, my name is DJ Slope, the creator of this video, this channel. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, please do hit that subscribe button. But before we go ahead, I did want to speak to you ever so briefly about Squarespace. You see, Squarespace is a place inside your Square screen where you get to build your own website. And although plenty of these template helpers out there are available, honestly guys, they give them someone that's actually experienced it firsthand. The difference in quality and the tools available to you is, well, let's just say that Squarespace are the best at it. If you're like me, someone with very little time on their hands, wanting to get more and more content out, you know the importance of having a website but basically haven't got the time or the money to get someone to make one, then Squarespace is quite literally for you. There's nothing to install, there's nothing to patch, nothing to upgrade, it's all just here with Squarespace's award-winning templates all at your disposal, and it's pretty much just done for you guys. You can purchase domains here, keep an eye on your traffic analytics with the touch of a button, schedule posts, create a community with the easy to use commenting sections, it's all here. And thanks to me, not only will you get yourself a free trial, you'll also be getting yourself 10% off by going to squarespace.com/SGR and using SGR at the checkouts. And hey, it helps keep the lights on here at Slope's Game Room too. Oh, for fuck's sake. Guys, anyone? Well, hey, yes, we're back in action. Yes, thank you very much, guys, for supporting the show, and thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring the show too. But now, let's give a big shout out to the awesome Patreons who help me out every single month, with an extra big shout out going to Gary Pinkett, Mantis, Ryan Burford, Andrew Dalton, Ben Jackson, Jonathan Hayward, Kevin King, Christopher Turnbull, Phil Lowlins, Rovan Army, Ryan Holtz, Retro Connection, Hawk89, Dina Robertson Dunn, Adam Lefty Taylor, Intrigued Gaming, Tim Labonte, Asobi, Quang DX, Tim Lunn, Pixels.Limited, aka Samuel Victor, Conrad Constantine, Pretendo64, Creamy Elephant, Casey Garner, Blitz Hedgie, King Link Reviews, You Right, Jim Nat, Shadow Dial, Game Apologist, Chris Applin, Wobbles and Bean, The Wonder Ducks, Yield Hamburger, Dampety, Lucas Softail, Ronnie Method, SSWB, Solix Captor, Jeremy Rodriguez, Nick Pollard, Brian Perez, Marcus King Cut, Tyndall, The Geeky Dad, Richard Carter, aka Fantastic Dizzy, Todd Paul Float G, and of course Petty Mew. If you guys want to get your name shouted out, get your name shown, come and see what I'm working on and all of that usual stuff, then please do click the links that you see on the screen. I'm going to be doing some incredible updates over on Patreon, so yeah, look out for those. There's going to be some pretty awesome perks coming up, even more than there is already. So yes, thank you all so much for watching. Please do give the video a thumbs up, a thumbs down, whatever you prefer. And for now, this is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.